time to look for lodgings in a more gracious neighborhood, more like the ones he had seen earlier in his drive. He approached the courthouse with mixed emotions. The prestigious clerkship he won had made him the envy of his law school classmates, but the interview questions posed by the judge about his willingness to work on habeas corpus capital cases still echoed in his head like a cracked church bell. He stood on the sidewalk for a long while, contemplating the Latin scrawled above the concrete pillars on either side of the front door. Lux et veritas. He took a deep breath. Time to climb the steps and join the light and truth machine. Miss Stillwater, the judge's secretary, quickly came to the rescue on the housing front. She was a well-groomed woman with neatly permed gray hair. He would later learn that she was in her late 60s, but her slim figure belied her age. Lacking the girth of Arthur's matronly Scandinavian relatives, she still managed to send out grandmotherly vibrations as she opened the walnut double door that led into the judge's chambers. Why did he feel like the gate to the Emerald City had just swung wide? "Mr. Hughes." She clapped her hands together and welcomed him in a voice that was as elegant as her dress. "Please come in. I hope you had a nice drive." "It was interesting." He nodded enthusiastically as he scanned the hallway, an intimidating corridor of bookcases and more walnut paneling. "I took the local roads instead of the interstate." "Well, I hope you drove carefully." For a moment he mistook the leisurely pace of her speech for a real chiding. "Some of those small-town sheriffs really love to ticket cars with foreign tags." "Tags?" Arthur stole a glance into the huge side offices as he walked with her down the hall. "Do I need to get some sort of tag?" "I assume you've already got one on the back of your car, darling." "Oh, you mean license plates?" "Of course I do." Then she cocked her head and snapped her voice through the door to the left of her desk. "Judge, Arthur Hughes is here." A frowning white-haired man with half-rimmed glasses pushed down his nose, opened the door, and extended his hand. "Good to see you again, Mr. Hughes." Arthur reached out and was surprised by the power in the 70-year-old grip. Here was the man who almost single-handedly integrated the state of Georgia, a living legend if there ever was one, and Arthur couldn't think of anything to say. "Nice to be done with law school, I suppose. Ready for a year at the government rate before you head off to some big law firm?" "Yes, sir," was the best Arthur could answer to the flurry of questions. "It's nice to be here." "Nice to have you here, too." He tipped his head back toward his office. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm on the phone with Judge Merriweather in Huntsville. Miss Stillwater will get you set up. Get to bed early tonight. We'll see you in the office tomorrow at 7 a.m. sharp." He shut the door, and Miss Stillwater settled behind her desk and shuffled through her drawers. "Speaking of beds," she queried as she looked up and handed him the keys to his office and to the front door of the chambers. "Did you have any luck finding a place to live?" "No, ma'am." First official use of ma'am. "I was supposed to sign a lease today, but I got a call right before I left saying that they had let the apartment to someone else. I'll probably just stay at a hotel tonight and make some calls this afternoon and tomorrow." Miss Stillwater's eyes lit up. "You know, I know a young widow who's just lost a boarder. She lives on a lovely street about a 15-minute walk from here. Would you like me to call her?" She started writing even before he could blurt out his assent. "Here's the address. I'll give her a quick ring and tell her you're coming." On his way to the house, he paused at the top of the courthouse steps and looked across the street. Straight ahead stood the historic lunch counter, integrated 30 years earlier when the judge overturned the trespassing convictions of 4 black students who had dared to sit down to order hamburgers and Cokes. Although it looked unchanged since the day of the sit-in, the rest of the town had evolved over time. 2 doors down from the diner stood a new Thai restaurant and a coffee shop, both of which probably owed their livelihood to the Clarkeston College, which lay just south of downtown on the other side of the river. A dry cleaner, a storefront missionary apostolic holiness church, a men's clothing store, and a florist shop completed the block. The courthouse was planted firmly in the middle of Court Street, a secondary avenue that ran a block north of and parallel to Main Street. Because the terrain sloped south down to the river, he could see over the rooftops of the buildings along Main Street to the edge of the college.